Hi, Jonathan from Live Life Coach. Are you or someone you know feeling stuck, searching for direction, or wanting a clearer sense of what's next? You're welcome to connect with me. Whether you're exploring practical next steps or seeking God's leading, I'm always open to a genuine, no pressure conversation. Welcome back. Great to have you here with me again, and just sharing my thoughts and things that I think about as we go into thinking about coaching and what the things that we can do there. And this week I was just thinking about the All Blacks. If you know me well, you'll know that I'm not a big field sports fan. I enjoy a live game. Getting out there and actually being in the crowd and enjoying that. I'm more of a motorsports fan, but there's some great analogies because obviously field sports use a coach, and coaches are well respected in the field when it comes to sports. And a lot of people know that using a coach is just commonplace. And I was thinking about the fact that the All Blacks, they replaced their coach beginning of this year, so it's 2026, and they replaced their coach recently at the beginning of the year. Management made that decision that they would take on a new coach, and so with that comes some apprehension, comes some thoughts that what's going to happen? Are the All Blacks going to do as well? What's going to go on there? Just like changing the team, how's it going to work? But imagine if the management turned around and said, actually, you know what? Our coach is retired. We're not even going to replace them at all. We're just not going to even bother having a coach. Each of the members of the team are going to make their own decision. They're going to decide how they train. They're going to decide how they play the game. They're going to think about, I like to do it this way, or I like to do it that way, and together they'll come up with some sort of plan and just work out where they're going, what they're doing, let's see how they go. I mean, they're a world-rated team. They know what they're doing. Why do they need a coach? It's going to save us some money, so let's just get on with it, and they can just make it up as they go. Now, there would be a great outroar. Nobody is going to be happy with that. Everybody would be like, well, what the heck is going on? The All Blacks need a coach. They need somebody there to guide them, to show, help them, come together as a team, help them to work through things and really, be cohesive as a group. And, it keeps them on track, keeps them working in the way that they should be, training how they should be. It helps them to know how to play the game, the game plan that they're going to use. And that really makes a difference to how the game is played, how the players go through and actually interact with each other, how they do things. They listen to their coach. Their coach has a lot of pressure on the shoulders because if the team doesn't succeed, it comes back to the coach. The coach is the one that is looked at. Ultimately, at the end, the team gets hammered, but the coach gets hammered just as much. And the coach has a huge responsibility for how the game's played, how things pan out. If they don't win, the series or don't win a game, what went on? What was the coaching? What was the calls? All those sorts of things. But often in life, we as people don't actually, see the benefit of a coach. We think, hey, I've got it all together. Yes, the All Blacks need a coach, but what do I need a coach for? I know what I'm doing. I haven't got to this place that I'm in for no reason. I've been able to do things. I've been able to work things out, and I can coach myself. I can work through things, and I can make things happen. And it's really, what do I need a coach for? And actually, you'd be right. What is the need of a coach? Who actually needs a coach? We understand in sports, people, will say, you need a coach. You need somebody to bring the team together, get them working together. But in personal life, everybody's just going to say, oh, you don't really need a coach. What's the point of a coach? What are they going to do for you? And then in a lot of ways, that's true. You can look at me and go, what do I need a life coach for? What benefit are you going to bring? Well, it's hard to say because it is in some ways it's an intangible thing to be able to go, here is going to be your results, because the results are not reliant on me, the results are reliant on you. The difference is that when you approach me as a coach, you get a different perspective. You then begin to start to think about things differently. You might throw a question in there that makes you think in a different way, that makes you go process things differently, and helps you to actually work through what is going on in your head. And you'll be able to start to make, you might start to make different different decisions, think about things differently, or how you're approaching things. There might just be something that you're a bit stuck on. And when we go through our own head, we tend to stay stuck. Sometimes it can be hard to actually get around that. There's something that I find in times, we can focus on something and you just go round and round and round. It's just not working, walking away, coming back even 5 minutes later. And for some reason, your brain just goes, there's the problem, or here's what's going on. This is how I can fix it. And coaching's a bit like that. It's that kind of time out. You're walking away from a situation, and you can then come in and you talk to somebody and you go, now it makes a bit more sense. Now it's giving me a direction. It's giving me some clarity because I'm able to work through things. What I quite often find with people who come to see me is that they often, as they go through that process, they've made the decision to come and talk with me. They actually, get to a point where by the time they get to me, they've almost half solved the thing that they're originally coming for, because their brain has been processing, has been working through, it's been looking at it differently. It's changed their perspective about how they were thinking, because all of a sudden they're going to talk to somebody else. And so they've been working through, and their brain's just been switching up and changing around, and it processes things a bit differently, because now they're going to talk to somebody else. Another person is going to be involved. And so that changes the way they think of things. And that can be, sometimes they think, what was the point of coming to the coach then? I had already worked it out by that stage. But by coming and talking to the coach about that thing that was bugging them, they can actually get some clarity. They can actually narrow it down even further and really start to get it there. And often we'll clutter our minds with all sorts of other things. Now, I'm involved in a networking meeting, and there today we had a business coach speaking, and he was talking about time management. What is time management? How can you manage your time? And the reality, he said, is you can't. You cannot manage your time. Time is a set thing. We can't change how time operates. We only can operate within the time we have. And so it's a matter of how do we use our time? How do we utilize it? And the same thing goes when it comes to any sort of coaching. How are you benefiting from that? How are you using that? Are you getting the information and it's going, yep, cool, walk away and don't put it into practice? Or are you taking that information and you're going, okay, cool, now I can see where I should be going. I'm going to put that in practice. I had somebody come to a session, and they have lots of ideas, but all those ideas were distracting them from their core business, distracting them from their core thing they wanted to be working on. And so I just said, look, take those things, write them down. You're just giving me more to do. But the process of writing them down actually helps them to then put them aside. Are they important? Are they what they want to focus on? Or is what their main goal is, should they be focusing on that? If those ideas aren't going to get them towards their main goal, then it's time to just put them aside. Maybe they're a future goal when the main idea has been sorted out and they've got that working and going. Then they can, pick up these other ideas. They're not going to go away. And if they're that important, they will stay there in their mind. There's been plenty of things that I've looked at that I've thought, hey, that's really cool. I mean, I've had some things that I've talked about doing. It's taken 10, 15 years to be able to get to them because they weren't priority. Things didn't line up for them to work out. But there came a point where it was like, actually, now is the time that we can do this. Now's the time that can make that happen because it fits in with where we're at. And so that's the thing, is being able to think about that, process that, go, is this vital? Is it not? What am I really aiming towards? What is my main achievement? And being able to put that in place. And that's what coaching helps with. Helps you just really to narrow down, stops you thinking about all the different things. You're going, I've got this main goal, but what about this one? I could do this. And what about that one? I could do this. It's a bit like a magpie. Magpie always goes for the shiny thing. And when you're doing that on your own, you're the magpie. You could be going and, let's do this little thing. Let's do this little thing. And thinking that doesn't take much time, doesn't really change things. Whereas with the time management analogy, those little things take away from your main focus. They take away from you what you are really focusing on, where you're going towards, and add time to how long it takes to do something. So let's say, my example was I wanted to put French doors into the front of my house. Now, at the time, it didn't really work out. Didn't really know how I was going to do it. Had to, get some approval and whatnot, and things were going on. And so it was just one of those ideas I put there. And as we went through, we got to a stage where it's like, actually, we can do this. We can, take that and we can put it in. We have the time, we have the money, we're able to do it. We found, people who can actually manufacture the doors for us, because we wanted wooden joinery. We've got a 50s cottage. We wanted wooden joinery. We wanted it to look great, and we could get something that matched in with what we currently had in the home. And that was great. We did it, but it was one of those ideas I put down, I shelved it and went, it's not for now. Later on, a few years later, it was. And so we're able to then focus on it and really get it done, rather than dragging it out, putting around, sort of going, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do this. It was able to actually just put it aside, go, okay, that's not for now. And some people find that hard to do. I mean, guys will say, hey, I've got my box or my drawer, and I can just put it in there, shove it away, and I don't need to think about it again. But, some people it'll constantly sit there, it'll be on their mind. And that's where sometimes physically writing something down, can actually take that off your mind, because you've put it down somewhere and your mind goes, okay, that's done, it's there, I'll be able to come back to that because it's physically written down. Other people can just take the idea, have it sit in the back of their mind, and that's fine. They can pull that back up as they, see the window that they want to take out, or anything that's going on there that reminds them, and they just go, yep, I'll keep that in mind, and they can carry on. So it really depends how you process and think about things, but there are some real grounds and real science behind the fact that writing things down can really help you be able to process, put things aside, work through things. That actual act of writing with a pen, pencil, anything like that, can actually help you process things, and actually help you put things aside if you need to. It allows your brain to actually go, right, that's been dealt with, I know it's there, it's something physical that you can actually pick up later on and go, that's right, that's what that was about. And it just really helps you work through things and figure things out. Why do you need a coach? You probably don't. Why would you want a coach? Because they're going to help you go further and help you think differently to what you would do on your own. As anyone knows, a team can work and do a lot more together than they can do on their own. Just like the All Blacks, if they all played their own game, nobody would know where anything was going. Who would be passing the ball to who? Who would be, tackling this person or whatever? It would just be, you imagine the 5-year-old kids. It would be everyone chasing the ball, diving in. It would be just a great big mess. But the All Blacks have a coach. They have somebody who guides them, shows them the direction, shows them the plan, says this is how we're going to play the game. Everybody focused on that, and it makes a real difference. And so just think of a life coach as your team coach. We become a team. You work with the life coach, you work with me, and we become a team and begin to form a relationship that actually helps you move forward, to gain direction, to gain clarity, and really be able to make a change in your life and become better than what you could be on your own. Not saying there's anything wrong with where you are at, but there's always improvements that can be made. And when you're working with a coach, when you're working with others, they can really improve things and really help you move forward and make a difference in your life. So hey, if you're needing some help, you're wanting to look for that, being able to grow, being able to actually change perspective, be able to do more than what you can do on your own, then hey, I'm here to have a chat. Love to have a coffee catch up, online meetup. Give me a call and we can catch up and make a time, and let's get into coaching and let's get you moving forward in a direction that is really going to help you achieve and grow in a better way. Bye.